Here are the tricks for the unit circle in radians. So with the unit circle is based on a radius of 1 around the circle. So that's why we have 1, 0, 0, 1, go out again 1, -1, 0, and then go down 1, 0, -1. So we start at 0, we have pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and then we end at 2 pi. So the unit circle in radians is from 0 all the way around to 2 pi. And 2 pi is the radian value of a unit circle, whereas in degrees, we would go from 0 to 360. So 2 pi represents 360 degrees in radians. So from there, we have different radians. And I'm highlighting everything with a denominator of 6. So everything with a denominator of 6 is always square root 3 over 2 first, comma 1/2. And anything with a denominator of 6, you can remember that 3 times 2 equals 6. So therefore, anything with a denominator of 6, root 3 over 2 goes first. On the other hand, we have pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, and 5 pi over 3. You notice that with a denominator of 3, it's the opposite. So we have 1/2 first, comma, square root 3 over 2 second. We can remember that 1/2 goes first with anything with a denominator of 3 because 1 plus 2 equals 3, which gets me my denominator of 3. So that's my trick for the 3 and the 6. And finally, we have denominators of 4. So we have pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, and 7 pi over 4. So anything with a denominator of 4, they're all square root 2 over 2, comma, root 2 over 2. We can remember that root 2 over 2 goes first and second because 2 times 2 equals 4, and that gets me my denominator of 4. So those are the denominators associated with the values in parentheses. So each cosine and sine value, if you don't remember. So those are my ordered pairs. Now, in each quadrant, it changes. The positives and negatives change. So in the first quadrant, it's positive, positive. In the second quadrant, it's negative, positive. In the third quadrant, we have negative, negative. And then the fourth quadrant, we have positive, negative. You can draw a little cheat sheet off to the side. So that you can remember each of the positive and negative values around the unit circle, but these go along with the quadrants in a regular XY grid. So then after that, the last trick is to figure out the numerators. So we know that anything with a denominator of 6, every single time we have root 3 over 2 first because 3 times 2 is 6. However, in the numerator, it changes. So in the first quadrant, everything has a numerator of pi. So all of my numerators, pi over 3, pi over 4, pi over 6, all of a numerator of pi. In the second quadrant, we have 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 4, and 5 pi over 6. In the numerator for all of these, we take the denominator minus 1 pi. So 6 minus 1 is 5, 4 minus 1 is 3, 3 minus 1 is 2. So we have the denominator minus 1. In the third quadrant, we have 7 pi over 6, 5 pi over 4, and 4 pi over 3. This is the denominator plus 1, and then we have pi, of course. So when we take the denominator plus 1, 6 plus 1 is 7, 4 plus 1 is 5, 3 plus 1 is 4, denominator plus 1 pi. And then finally, in the last quadrant, the fourth quadrant, we have the denominator times 2, and then we have minus 1 pi. 3 times 2 is 6, minus 1 is 5. 4 times 2 is 8, minus 1 is 7. 6 times 2 is 12, minus 1, 11. So all of these are the denominator times 2 minus 1. And then finally, as we go along in the unit circle, 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and then 2 pi. So those are all of my axes. Now all of the ordered pairs go cosine, comma, sine. X comes before Y, just like in the alphabet, C comes before S, so therefore it goes cosine, comma, sine. So from cosine and sine, we have now the other four identities. Tangent. So for tangent, we have sine divided by cosine. ST, so therefore ST and the alphabet, they're right next to each other, sine goes on top. Next one, we have cotangent. Cosine goes in the numerator. C and C, cotangent and cosine goes on top. Then we have cosecant. So cosecant is 1 over sine, and then we have secant, which is 1 over cosine. These are opposite of one another. So cosecant is 1 over sine, secant 1 over cosine, the opposite letters in the denominator. Those are all the tricks for the unit circle in radians.